Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to the web series 3 Fleets, taken from Reddit with the author's approval. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 7. The Briefing. The heavy sheet metal door whoomfed shut behind me. "Have a seat, Captain," Mark said. The inside of the room barely 5 meters by 3. Most of the floor space was taken up by a conference table and chairs. In the corner was a massive, brutal metal safe that easily weighed half a ton. A single, unpowered terminal sat in the corner opposite the safe. "Mr. Brent, I have a long trip ahead of me and a defense strategy to plan. Is this briefing really necessary right now?" Captain Moore asked. Mark was bent over the lock in front of the safe, working on opening it. "Afraid so, Captain. Command said that you needed this before you left." The safe popped open, and Mark began pulling items from it. "I'm going to be stuck on a ship for weeks, traveling to this invalid union to defend Admiral Twang at trial. Surely I could get the briefing en route." Mark was plugging in items from the safe into the computer. "Sorry, Captain. This information only exists in this room. Well, mostly. Either way, the ship doesn't have it, and it isn't cleared for it." Mark finished reassembling the computer and powered it up. Mark turned back to the table and sat across from the captain. "Okay, that'll be ready in just a minute," Mark said. He picked up a plain folder as he retrieved it from the safe and pulled out several forms. "If I could get you to sign these documents," he said, handing them over to the captain. "There's standard warnings about not discussing what you're about to learn and acknowledge that you've been informed. Oh, and one thing of note, the penalty for unauthorized disclosure goes from a minimum of 20 years in prison up to and including penalty of death. Sorry? Yeah, this one's pretty serious. It is a death penalty at the top end, but that would only be for purposely broadcasting it. The death penalty is outlawed by the fleet's Articles of Confederation. Actually, that's only mostly true. Yes, Article 5 outlaws capital punishment, but if you look at Article 7 and Article 11, there's a loophole that allows for it even in certain circumstances. At least, that's what I've been told. You're the lawyer, though." Captain Moore skimmed through the documents and signed where required. He was certain that he could argue against the death penalty if it came to it. Mark had turned back to the computer and finished setting it up, while the captain read through and signed. Once all the legalities were out of the way, Mark tucked the papers back into the folder and removed them from the table. "Okay, Captain, what you're about to see is a taped interrogation of the philosopher Kost Turlek." "But philosophers never surrendered. They always suicided out before capture. That's why we had to crack into so many of their systems to learn anything about them. The only ones that we ever captured were the worker caste." "Almost true. We captured one. He was too badly hurt to complete his suicide. We had him for about 3 weeks before he succumbed to his injuries. We verified most of his information when we got into their systems, and it seemed accurate. I also cannot stress enough how important it is that it remain classified. You are 352nd person ever briefed on this. Most of the rest of those are flag officers, director-level agency heads, and parliamentarians. There are a few, like me, who are responsible for the grunt work also briefed, but it is a short list, and we are placing a great deal of trust in you." Mark turned back to the computer and pressed play on the old video. On the screen, a bloodied and broken Turlik sat slumped against the cold concrete wall. Captain Moore could hear the alien's rasping breathing through the tiny speakers attached to the computer. A voice off-screen, the interrogator presumably, asked the Turlik's name. The Turlik answered with a gargling sound. The video cut out and resumed with the Turlik sitting in a chair, bandaged and breathing slightly easier. "Let's try this again. What's your name?" the interrogator asked. "Teknaval," the Turlik answered, with the translation appearing at the bottom of the screen. "Okay, Tech, I'd like for us to have a talk. I'd like to learn more about your culture." The alien's claws tried to slide out of their sheets, but his hand shook from the pain. "Now, culture? What would a worm like you know of culture?" "Nothing." "Please teach me," the interrogator said. A waste. Trying to teach you would be like trying to teach a horse to dance." "Tech, your people are beaten," the interrogator said in a low voice, difficult to hear. "Your people's time on this world is at an end. Your own time in this world is coming to a close as well." The Turloc's eyes blazed as his claws tried once more to unsheath. The video clipped and cut out once more, but picked up again almost immediately. "We are a proud people," Tack was saying when the video returned. "An empire of worlds throughout the galaxy. We take what we need from the weaker species, the inferior species. Like humans. Yes, like humans. Backwards and primitive. Unworthy to stand in the Turlock Empire's glory. Ever unworthy, I come here. Why not pass us by?" Tech said quietly. He stared at the floor to his right. "Our empire is not without debate." "I'm sorry, I don't know that word." "Debate means fighting with words. It means dishonoring your opponents to gain the advantage. It means arguing beyond reason." "Sort of like debate." "Your primitive language cannot capture the fullness of the word, but yes, whatever. Our empire found your people approximately 180 years ago. One of our cargo vessels had been damaged and became lost. We saw your people when they were little more than animals. We sent a survey mission later and found that you had already learned to split the atom and walk on your moon. You were advancing much too quickly. We continued the debate in the great arena. You would be amongst the stars far faster than you should. You would challenge the Turlock Empire. But if your species could be brought to heel, could be made to serve the Turlock, then perhaps you would become valuable. Perhaps we could bend your pitiful civilization into a useful cog." "What do you mean that we would be amongst the stars faster than we should?" "It is nothing, merely one argument from dozens for bringing you into our empire." "It seems a little more than that. It sounds like you were afraid of—" "Blasphemy! The Turlock fear nothing!" The Turlock's claws were fully extended. His venom sacs were pulsing, his arms straining at his restraints. Blood and pus dropped from his claws and pooled on the table. The alien shouting, overwhelming the microphone. The screen cut to black. When the picture resumed, the Turlock was laying on a gurney with several tubes running into him. "Human, how have I come to loathe that word?" the Turlock said, slowly, with as much effort. "You have taken the lives of my brothers, and you've taken mine." "You asked to see me." The same interrogator's voice from earlier spoke from off-screen. The Turlock wheezed once and then said, "Yes, you were right. The Turlock feared you. One faction argued for your complete destruction. You were too dangerous. They could not say, but that was all understood. You would surpass us all before we could react. Our empire would topple. We would no longer be the conquerors, but the conquered." "Why would you think that?" "The history of the galaxy is written in blood. Your own history, as the calculus was unarguable." "But you didn't destroy us." "No." The Turlock devolved into a coughing fit. His blood was flecked with blood and sputum. Eventually, he calmed down and regained his breath. "We did not destroy you," the Turlock said. "Our greed was greater than our fear. We thought to harness you like a beast of burden. We could use you as the engine of the greatest expansion the Empire had ever seen. We would breed you as shock troops, as scientists, as workers. Our caste system is far more rigid than yours." "We don't have a caste system." "You do not? Well, I have lived amongst the rabble of this world for 20 years. I've seen how your people behave. You may lie to yourselves, but do not lie to me. I am near the end of my days, and do not have time for such." "I didn't come here to talk about humans." "But you did. You came here to hear why Turlock came to this world, why we invaded. Humans would become slaves to the Turlock because you are chaos embodied, wild and unpredictable, terrifying and awesome. We thought to ride the dragon, but the dragon has returned as we feared. When my homeworld hears of this, those who demanded your destruction will become triumphant. They will launch a world killer against you. They'll wipe out all life in the system. They will order the destruction of all humans throughout the Empire. You'll be hunted and slaughtered. Humans will exist only in the memories of those who were here." The Turlock laughed to himself into a coughing fit. More blood sprayed across the white pillow beneath him. Nobody came to help him. The interrogator stayed silent off-screen. The video stopped. Mark turned to Captain Moore. 3 days after that, we finalized the Articles of Confederation, which created the 3 fleets. Captain Moore sat quietly for a moment. They were going to use us to enslave other species. Yes. And to develop new technologies. We found a few messages in one of the captured ships that led us to believe that they had begun bioengineering people to create better soldiers. We haven't found anything beyond that, however. Mice is classified. Everyone knows the Turlock are jerks. First, the powers that be decided not to tell anyone that we had a sword hanging above our heads. The Turlock were absolutely sent a world killer against us. We've been seeding hidden colonies to preserve humanity. We have heavy patrols to watch for it, but we have no idea how big this thing is or if we'll be able to stop it. Second, there are still Turlock sympathizers. We believe they have some ability to contact Turlock homeworld. We don't want the enemy knowing how much we know. I've shown you the shorter version since you have a ship to catch. There is another 12 hours of pertinent video. We learn a little more about the society and culture. Nothing too groundbreaking. Most of that info has made it out in one way or another over time, so people just know it. Very well, the captain said, as he looked at his watch. I should get going, he said. One last thing, Captain, Mark said. A personal request. Really? I had the opportunity to work with Admiral Chuang several years ago. He's one of the smartest men I ever met. They'll tell me he's some kind of tactical miracle worker. He led the attack during the Battle of San Francisco, you know. Yes, I've heard, Captain said. I don't know what's going on out there with the Third Fleet, just what I hear in the news. But I can guarantee you one thing. Despite what the news says, Admiral Chang didn't surrender. He just started executing the next part of his plan. End of chapter. This is a special thank you to the one, the only, the legendary Eric Hino, who has become the only Tier 6 patron. Just a quick shout out to the T5 peeps. Bob the Dragon, Cat Crab Lobster, Data Magnet, Dark Machine, Try Again 95, Fudic Yol, Astrea the Dreamer, Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Athelia, Meridian 117, and Jordan Bucksmorm. Thank you very much. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed. There are links down below, both to support this channel and for the author of this fiction. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.